Good morning guys, and welcome to my unboxing and review of the Master Grade Eclipse Gundam. This is a 2021 standard release that I got for around $60, which seems to be about the average price of a modern Master Grade these days. You sometimes see some kits like the Wing kits or the Age 1 Normal or things like that that are between like $40, $45 or so, but in general it seems that $60 is the new standard. Anyway, so this is the titular mobile suit from Mobile Suit Gundam SEED Eclipse, a side story manga for SEED, and this is a kind of interesting mobile suit in that aesthetically it kind of takes the SEED kind of super over-the-top angularity to its extreme, in addition to being a transforming mobile suit that turns into a very unconventional kind of mobile armor mode. Like stuff like the Aegis had like a super crazy, really out there mobile armor mode, but this looks closer to something you would see in other sci-fi properties. Like this very much looks like an over-the-top starship or something. I would expect to see this in maybe Redout or the racing game Wipeout or something, like a super futuristic sci-fi racing vehicle. So the front of the box shows off some pretty cool art here with the Eclipse Gundam in mobile suit mode and mobile armor mode, and its namesake, a very large eclipse in the background, showing off some really cool things like the main kind of rifle of, I think this is the main kind of rifle of the Eclipse, as well as the beam shield. On the bottom here, we have the full painted build shown off on the left, some gimmicks in the middle showing off articulation gimmicks and stuff, showing off a partial inner frame here. It is talking about how, staying true to the lineage of this mobile suit in lore, it is going to be using the frame of the Master Grade Freedom Gundam 2.0. I have not built that kit yet, it is in the backlog, but I've heard generally pretty good things about it, so hopefully the frame kind of holds up here. Again, showing off this almost Animorphs style transformation sequence between the mobile suit mode and the mobile armor mode, showing off the pilot figure of Tatsumi Hori, the pilot in the cockpit. Very typical Master Grade stuff. On this side here, we have it showing off a bunch of other kind of poses and gimmicks for this kit, showing off the decals here that I'm not going to be using because I do actually have water slides for this kit that I'm going to use, showing off the beam sabers, showing off some separation gimmicks in the rifles as well as beam sabers, the swappable finger style hands, the beam rifles, an included display base. I believe that's an Action Base 13, always great to see. Talking about the joints and the beam shields. Also advertising here compatibility with the various striker packs. If you have any of those, they will work with the Eclipse Gundam. I really wanted to get the Eclipse and Raijin striker pack. Unfortunately, that's sold out on Bandai almost instantly, so I was not able to get one. So yeah, getting right into it. Inside the box we get 8 bags of runners, as well as this very thick, like standard Master Grade manual. Yeah, it's quite thick here. I assume a lot of that's going to be talking about the transformation gimmicks, but yeah, we have the box art again here on the front, as is typical. Inside we get some lore information about the kind of the development of the Eclipse in Orb, talking about the kind of various transformable mobile suits in SEED, compatibility with striker packs, etc. And then here we have the usual, like double snip your parts off the runners, the general kind of assembly order of the kit. Inside we get a rather large parts list here. It looks like we are going to be excluding a lot of parts on a couple of the runners. I assume these runners I and J that are going to be missing a ton of parts are frame runners from the Freedom. So this probably does come with some new frame parts in addition to using part of the frame from the Freedom. Of course, the kind of build order is going to be a little unorthodox here, being a transformable mobile suit. I'm getting flashbacks to the Zeta Plus. You are building the head and chest as one kind of total fused unit. Of course, to facilitate the transformation, the head will probably like kind of fold into the torso like it did in the Zeta Plus. Apart from the actual like kind of build order, the two being a fused unit, the actual build for this seems pretty typical for a Master Grade. Of course, then we go into the arms, which seem pretty involved. Yeah, a full like over 2 pages dedicated to the arms is more than usual. So yeah, it looks like the arms are going to be a bit more involved. Of course, we have the legs here. Yeah, then we build the waist. Then you combine the 2 halves, and then you get into the weapons. Looks like our weapons here are going to be 2 beam rifles, and I'm not sure exactly what these are. Probably the beam shields, I assume. In the middle here, we're going to get a nice, in full color, like double spread, talking about the Eclipse Gundam itself, talking about the pilot, the weapons, kind of giving, I guess, an overview of the story of the cosmic era during the time that Eclipse takes place. I don't exactly know why it says an era where nothing happened, because a lot happens in SEED. I'm not sure if that's just like a reference that I'm not understanding or what. Of course, we get our full color guide here, and then just a quick tip of you should panel line because it makes kits look better. After that, you finish building the weapons, talking about assembly of the Action Base 13. Again, love to see it. It's the best base Bandai's ever made. A little bit big, depending on like how much shelf room you have, but apart from that, perfect stand. And then of course, yeah, it looks like a lot of this manual, like probably like a third of the pages are dedicated to the transformation here. Yeah, it's just going in depth in the transformation. After that's talking about equipping striker packs onto it. Yep, yeah, a lot of this is just instructions on how to equip the different striker packs specifically. Then after all that, you get into the decal guide, which again, I'm not really going to be using because I have the water slides for this kit. And of course on the back we have the nice full painted build of the Eclipse Gundam, looking very cool there. So, as for the contents of the bags, inside the bags we are going to get 16 runners. My runner count is probably not going to match the manual count because a bunch of these runners are in fact 2 small runners fused together. Like how in a lot of kits B1 and B2 would be kind of based on the same runner, and B2 would just be a copy of part of B1. Here it's like one mega runner and split in half, one half being B1, one half being B2. My count is just like the overall, counting the overall Giga runner as 1 if it's not split up like in the box. In addition to this very small sheet of foil stickers here for parts like the eyes and cameras. Again, all of this is expected. It's very nice that we don't actually need any color correcting stickers. And of course we are going to get this sheet of sticker style decals, which I don't really like. These look horrible on any kind of darker color. The outline is very visible, and I do like the design of the Eclipse, so I'm not going to be using these. I am instead going to be using this set of water slide decals from Simp. This is my first time actually using decals from Simp. In the past, all the decals I've used have either been from Bandai themselves or from G Rework or Delphi Decal. So I'm not exactly sure what to expect. It also looks like we're going to get some water slide replacements for the foil stickers there, but I'm not going to be using them because, of course, you do want some parts to kind of catch the light for the camera, so yeah, it's nice that they included them, but I'm not going to be using those decals specifically. Also, something to note that I just noticed, this does look like so while G Rework and Delphi Decal will usually make their own kind of spin on the decals to put on the kits, this looks like it's just recreating the decals included in the box, but in water slide form, which is quite nice. So, getting into the runners themselves. So, starting with runners A1 and A2 from the Eclipse Gundam. These runners were printed in August of 2022. This is a 4-color runner coming in red, kind of primer frame gray, a much darker black color, and yellow up here. A2 being a copy of this yellow part, and then a lot of the kind of frame and black parts. So of course we have red for parts like the head, as well as a bunch of different accent parts, frame gray for a number of different inner frame parts, black here for some additional accent colors, and yellow for some more accent colors, including parts for, I believe, chest vents and the head antenna. Runners B1 and B2 here coming fused together to form a mega runner for many of our joint and frame parts, including parts for the chest and shoulders, as well as you see some parts for the hands up here. 2 of runner C for some additional frame parts in this kind of primer gray, including parts for the skirts and feet. Runners D1 and D2 here for some additional armor parts. Again, these two come fused together in the form of like a mega runner. Again, you see a lot of like super extreme angles on these runners that kind of, again, the Eclipse Gundam kind of takes the SEED design language of being super aggressive and angular to its extreme. You have many recognizable parts here for things like the shoulders, skirts, you have the face mask here, you have the backs of the hands, and you have our seated pilot figure for Tatsumi Hori. Unfortunately, it looks like we are not going to be getting a standing pilot figure, so if you want to display a figure alongside it for scale, you will have to find it from another kit. Alright, still from the Eclipse Gundam, we will have 2 of runners E1 and E2, again being a mega runner split in half, for a number of different armor parts, including parts as well as parts for things like the beam rifle. We have runners F1 and F2 here, still from the Eclipse Gundam, in this very kind of, it's a bit of a darker blue than usual. This is kind of close to the same blue used by the Alex 2.0, if you've ever built that kit. F2 is going to be a copy of this kind of middle part of F1, as well as some additional accent parts down here. here for, I believe, the torso. So yeah, a lot of this will form the main kind of accent color used in this kit, which is quite nice. And last but not least, for runners specifically for the Eclipse, we get two of runner G here. While they are kind of mirrored, they are identical runners. For all of our beam effects, for the kind of massive beam saber effects here, some shorter, I guess, beam dagger effects, and then effects for the oddly shaped beam shields. Normally you see them in a kind of I guess hexagon shape, not this super angular shape here. Again, this is going to be in clear green plastic. I'm very excited to see how this looks on the kit. And then we have 3 runners from the Freedom 2.0. As you saw in the manual, for some of these runners, we're not going to be using most of the parts. But here, starting with runner I from the Freedom 2.0 for a number of different frame parts. Again, you also have parts for like the rifle here that we're definitely not going to use because the Eclipse uses a completely different set of weapons. But yeah, you also have inner frame parts for things like the waist, some of the limbs, and you also have some hand parts, which I believe we are actually going to be using on the Eclipse, because the hands that on the Eclipse runners, like there were only 2 of them. I assume the rest of the options are going to be from the Freedom 2.0. We also have 2 of runner J here for inner frame parts, recognizably from the hips, legs, and I think some parts for the shoulders. Again, we're not going to be using most of these, but yeah, it's interesting to see them here. Finally, the last 2 runners included in this box are going to be the Action Base 13 here in black. Again, great to see. I've said it several times before on videos on this channel, but the Action Base 13 is the best one Bandai has made. It is a shame that they don't sell it separately. Again, the only downside for this base is that it is quite large, so if you've limited space, this takes up a ton of room, both kind of I guess horizontally, because to be so stable, it does kind of extend back quite far, and it also takes up a lot of vertical height. Even on the lowest height setting, it does take up a lot of space. So yeah, love to see it here. So with all that out of the way, I will see you after the build. All right, welcome back. Here's the Master Grade Eclipse Gundam, all snap built, panel lined, and there are plenty of panel lining opportunities on this kit. Decaled up with the water slide decals from Simp, and top coated using Mr. Hobby Premium Gloss top coat. And yeah, this kit looks it looks amazing. I definitely made the right call using a gloss top coat. I figured with all the insane like SEED angularity and proportions of this kit, it would look better in gloss than matte, and I think I made the right call there. Also to note, the Simp decals, they pop a lot more than I was expecting them to. The paper was a different texture than other decals from like Del P or G Rework or Bandai's decals. It was a little more coarse, and I was worried that the decals wouldn't be as good as they are from other companies, but I'm happy to report that they do look quite good on this kit. They just tend to kind of fold over on themselves a bit, so just be careful if you buy them and want to apply them on any kits you have. So getting into the build, this kit, Bandai seems to have learned a lot of lessons from the builds of a lot of other transformable kits. The 2 that I took a look at previously on this channel, the Zeta Plus and the V2 Assault Buster, both of them were very kind of clunky and weird. This kit localizes the clunkiness and the weirdness to a few different specific parts. For the most part, this kit is pretty typical in terms of build. The lower torso, the hips, which use the Freedom 2.0 hip parts, which are notorious for being a little weak. I haven't noticed any issues with them, but again, I've just built this kit, so who knows. The arms are pretty much entirely normal. The head is mostly normal. The kind of big differences are there's a kind of system in the head that allows the top of the head to kind of pop off and swivel for the transformation. The shoulders are where the kind of the most involved part of the arm build is. When I mentioned that it takes up a lot of space in the manual and that's more involved, it's because of those shoulders. There's a lot that goes into them. They're a lot more involved than typical Master Grade shoulders. And the lower legs, I don't know how you can see that, but they are not your typical Master Grade lower legs. It's a kind of triangle that can articulate and move and stuff for the transformation, but it leaves kind of hollow gaps. I don't know how you can see that in the middle there. You can kind of see through. It's a little interesting. It's a little strange. It definitely takes a lot of getting used to, but it's not that much more difficult than a typical Master Grade build. So while there is some jank to it, especially in when you fully assemble the legs, this blue part on the front of the shin has a tendency to kind of, there's a small C-clip that connects into the frame of the leg. That C-clip has a very bad tendency to go loose when you're assembling the kit. That was very annoying to deal with. But yeah, apart from that, the build was pretty fine. And the actual kind of sturdiness of this build, it seems quite it's quite good. It seems a little bouncy. The only kit that that I've built that I can say is kind of similar is the Master Grade Narrative C-Packs for Ka. That's also quite, it's hard to word it in any way other than bouncy, in that if you try to like disturb the equilibrium of the kit while it's standing, it will kind of wiggle around until it gets back into place. A lot of other Master Grades don't really feel that way, so this is a little unique in that regard. But apart from that, the build is a lot nicer than a lot of the other transformable kits I've taken a look at both on this channel and off. Again, it seems that they learned their lesson. Like, outside of this channel, I have built the Master Grade Kyrios, and that's a similarly solid transformable build. So in terms of aesthetics, I'll get it out of the way right now. Color accuracy is essentially perfect, as you would expect from a Master Grade. The color-correcting foil stickers are pretty much everything you would expect for eyes and cameras. So again, not much to report negatively there. That leads into the design of this kit. When I said earlier that this is essentially the like epitome of SEED angularity, I wasn't kidding. Like, look at this thing. It's all edges and angles everywhere. The kind of lankiness of this design exacerbates that. The 22-meter head height was counting these aerodynamic fins on the head. The actual head height of this kit is only 19 meters, so a little bit taller than your typical Master Grade. But yeah, even being that little bit taller, combined with all of these like super long proportions in the legs and all of these angles jutting out, really feels like SEED. It's over the top, it's very edgy in the literal sense. There are edges everywhere, which gives it a very kind of unique feel to it. There are some hollow gaps. I don't know if they're supposed to be there in the kit. Like I pointed out earlier, in the lower legs you can see through. I don't know how well it'll be able to show up on camera, but if you look into this kit from the top, you can see like there's a small assembly here, like for the chest to kind of extend out. Kind of around where it clips into the neck, you can see a little bit of light coming through. That is poking down through the neck out into the back of the torso. So again, I don't know if these are supposed to be there, but there are some hollow gaps, so if you're bothered by that, just know that they are there on this kit. There is a lack of detail on some parts, namely the undersides of the wings, on the shoulders, but while they're folded down like this, it's kind of hard to make out, so it's not that big a deal, but there is a lack of detail on the underside, if that's a thing that bothers you. But apart from that, aesthetically, this is a super interesting kit. Again, like, there's a number of very interesting aspects to this. Despite being developed from the Freedom and using the Freedom 2.0's frame, it's kind of hard to see the resemblance. If anything, it resembles more the Strike, especially with this lower torso here. It's very Strike-like. In combination with the compatibility with Striker packs, that's one thing I forgot to mention in the build. Most of the leftover parts that aren't the Freedom 2.0's frame are going to be adapters that you use to mount various Striker packs on it, either in mobile suit mode or mobile armor mode. I don't have any Striker packs built right now. I have the Master Grade Ale Strike RM clear color version in the backlog, as well as the Strike Rouge Otori that I'm probably going to build soon. But yeah, apart from those two, I don't have any Striker packs built, so yeah, unfortunately I will not be able to show any of them off on the Eclipse Gundam. But yeah, this seems to resemble the Strike more so than the Freedom, which is interesting. There's also very interesting aspects, especially in the feet. It's almost G-Quux-like, but again, this came first, so you could say that G-Quux is Eclipse-like, and that you have these very large false feet that conceal these very tiny, almost landing gear-like real feet underneath. Again, these feet are very tiny. I'll spoil it now. You are not going to see this kit in a running and gunning pose. The surface area of the foot is just way too small to be able to balance it. Even when I was building it, a single leg could not stand up on its own because, again, the surface area in contact with the ground was quite small. But yeah, a lot of interesting aspects on this kit. It's definitely unique. If this design really turns you off, then yeah, I wouldn't really recommend buying this kit. But if you're even neutral to this design, this is an excellent representation of it in model kit form, and as a model kit, it leaves out a lot of the jank that transformable kits tend to have, as you'll see in Articulation. But there's a small asterisk to everything I'm saying. I have not tried to transform this yet. Just in case I break something, because again, I've heard the Freedom 2.0's hips are a bit fragile, and the transformation looks fairly involved. I'm saving that for the Articulation section. So yeah, we'll see if my opinion changes in the conclusion section. So this is the part where I would normally get into where all of the color correcting stickers are used, but again, there's so few of them and they're used exactly where you would expect them to be that I'll just fly through them extremely quickly. 1 and 2 are green metallic color correcting stickers for the eyes, as you would expect. There is a clear part behind them, so if you want to, you can just like paint the behind of it in like silver or something. I tried, it didn't look the greatest, but your mileage may vary. Sticker 3 is going to be the front head camera, of course. Sticker 4 is going to be the rear head camera, but because of this very unique head design with a kind of I guess, exhaust thing on the back of the head. Sticker 4 is going to be on the top of the head. And sticker 5 you get 2 of for very large square cameras for the beam rifles seen on the side skirts. So, getting into a quick size comparison, here's the Master Grade Eclipse Gundam next to a standard size high grade being the High Grade Blue Destiny Unit 1, and a standard size Master Grade being the Master Grade Gym Sniper 2 2.0. As you can see, this kit is quite large. It is very tall, again, 19 meters. It is about a head taller than the Gym Sniper 2, which in real world kind of equivalent equates to about being about an inch taller head height. Of course, these large fins on the back give it a lot of extra height, and I believe with those fins, it comes close to the height of a new Gundam, like a Master Grade new Gundam, if you have any of those, or the narrative, or anything like that. But yeah, so this is going to be quite a tall kit, expected to take up a lot of space on the shelf, especially if you have it in mobile suit mode using the beam effects, which also take up a ton of space, as you'll see in a moment. So yeah, large kit, very cool kit, a lot of presents. It's very striking. Alright, in terms of accessories, here's the Master Grade Eclipse Gundam with everything it comes with. As you can see, most of the parts that aren't on the kit are beam effect parts and hand option parts. You can actually mount pretty much every weapon this kit has. You can mount every weapon this kit has on it. So the side skirts have mounts on them to hold the beam rifle / beam sabers at all times. There isn't really a reason to take them off unless it's holding them in the hands. And of course, these 2 arm extension things are the beam shields, which again, there's also not really a reason to take off in mobile suit mode at any time. So getting the big other accessory out of the way first, of course, you're going to be getting an Action Base 13. I've said it many times before in the kits that have this base in it. This base is essentially perfect. There's nothing wrong with it except for the fact that it is gigantic. So I will not be displaying it in this video in the posing section because it can't really spin around on the booth, especially with how large the Eclipse Gundam is. So moving on to the hand options, this is going to be using swappable finger style hands. Again, love these hands, or love that style of hands. Of course, and thumb is going to be on a ball joint. Of course, in addition to the closed fists I have on the kit right now, you are also going to get 2 open expressive hands, which the only thing to really note here is that these fingers are a lot closer together than a lot of other open expressive hands are. Normally they're splayed a lot more than this, but yeah, these fingers are a bit less dynamic than other ones, but I'm pretty sure that also means you can use them as rifle support hands more easily if you want to do that. And then of course you're going to get 2 standard holding hands. No trigger fingers on this kit because the handles for the beam swords also act as the triggers for the beam rifles. So yeah, you really only need standard holding hands with a tab in the middle of the hand here to better secure the weapons. There are a couple of other hand option parts left over, but again, those are for using with weapons from like other striker packs and things. So there's there's a hand specifically for use with the launcher striker pack with the huge cannon that comes with, for example. You're going to get a standard style action base. It's currently on the kit right now because that was how I was holding it up when I was top coating it with just like an alligator clip on a stick. And of course, you're also going to get this action base adapter here for when it's in mobile armor mode. So yeah, you'll see that flying around in the posing section. In addition, for the beam effects, you have these two. I think I called these beam dagger effects in the unboxing section because, again, that's what they kind of looked like. No, they are for the beam shields because in conjunction with these large parts here, they form a very large kind of like, I guess, triangle or almost like an exaggerated chevron or arrow shape. These smaller dagger effects can presumably allow the beam shield to be used as a close quarters weapon if necessary without it having to draw the beam swords or beam sabers. I can't remember exactly which one it's called. And to use with the beam sabers, you have these 2 very, very long beam effects. For a quick size comparison, this is about half the height of the Eclipse Gundam itself, and the Eclipse Gundam is quite tall, so yeah, very large of effect, very striking. It's definitely going to look very cool on this kit when I pose it using the beam sabers. And as for the weapons and accessories on the kit, of course, you are going to have the beam shields, 1 on each arm. This is going to be on an arm that can articulate and pivot and swing around as necessary, can rotate, all of that good stuff. It is connected via 2 points on the arm, so the connection is quite secure, so don't expect that to be falling out accidentally. And of course, to use it, you kind of you can extend out the top, you can extend out the bottom, and then you attach the beam effects on. Not going to do that right now. You'll see it in the posing section. And then, of course, the main weapons of the kits are the beam sabers / beam rifles stored here on the side skirts. When not in use, the rifle is actually also doubles as the scabbard for the beam sabers. So yeah, very cool, very multifunctional. Of course, this is what it looks like in inert form. When you want to use it as a beam rifle, of course, you just kind of fold the handle down, it holds onto it. not really much to say, very large. This part, this is the one part that kind of resembles the Freedom Gundam in that its main ranged weapons are 2 full-size beam rifles. Unlike the Freedom Gundam, though, they cannot link together to form like a super high-precision, high-power firing mode. And then when you want to use it in beam saber mode, of course, you can just pull the saber handle here out of the scabbard and just leave that on the waist. But yeah, this is quite a large beam saber without even the effect being held. And when the effect is on, it is quite a large accessory. Again, lots of panel lining opportunities on both this and the beam rifle to help it pop out more. Again, I would definitely recommend you do that. The kit looks a little bland without all of those surface details being shaded in. But yeah, with the handle in, again, this is quite a large weapon. It takes up maybe 3/4 the height of the Eclipse Gundam itself, which is very impressive. Again, it'll definitely help it stand out on the shelf, which is very cool. This would make a pretty, I don't know if it would make a decent centerpiece, but it definitely makes a great focal point for like an individual shelf. I don't know if I would make it the centerpiece of an entire set of shelves, but it's quite nice. Oh yeah, and of course when you want to store it, there are tabs on either side that just plug into the side skirts. So yeah, accessory-wise, while the number of accessories isn't that great, the actual like kind of effect of them and the presence of them is very, very cool. Definitely excited to see them in the posing section. So, getting into articulation. I'm going to go over all the articulation that isn't related to the transformation because, of course, you probably don't want to use any of the transformation articulation when it's in mobile suit mode. So starting with the head, it will look up about that far, so not very far. I don't know if you saw earlier, but the head is quite long on the top here, so that will collide with this back like kind of flap here very quickly. It can look down quite far, so it can give quite a mean glare or a downward firing pose. It can 360, just be very careful, again, with how long this head is. It does tend to collide with the shoulders, depending on how you pose it. So yeah, it can 360 if you want it to. Just be a bit careful while you do so. I wasn't that careful handling these kind of aerodynamic fins on the sides of the heads. As you can see, one of them is a bit warped. Yeah, just be careful. And of course, you get a decent side to side tilt, although again not super noticeable. It is a little hard to do without articulating. As you saw earlier, the top of the head can lift up for the transformation. So as for the shoulders, it is on a bit of an odd assembly here. I don't know how you can see that, but the peg it attaches to in the torso is actually vertical. So there's this whole like kind of elaborate assembly thing that allows these shoulders to move and transform and all that. So for a forward swing, you will get a not that great swing, but it's better than nothing. You also get a bit of a rearward swing if necessary. The shoulder can't really lift separately of the arm because of how the assembly is, but yeah, the shoulder can lift up that far, which allows the arm, if I rotate it so the beam shield gets out of the way. Because of how thick the shoulder is, the arm is only going to get a little more than a 135-degree bend, which is, again, more than enough. You will get a full 360-degree rotation in the upper bicep. Again, just be careful with the beam shield on. It does tend to collide into things. These flaps can articulate as you would expect, and they can also rotate around. Just be careful. The front flaps, I've noticed, are a bit loose in particular. This one on the kit's left side tends to fall off more than the other one, so I don't know if that's a problem with my specific kit, or if that's just an issue with this in general. Of course, in the elbow, you are going to get a full double bend. Again, you won't, while the joint itself can do a full double bend, it's kind of hard to do with how massive these shoulders are. So yeah, effectively, you can get almost a 180-degree bend, but not quite. So, pretty nice. The wrist is on a ball joint, which is going to do ball joint things, as you would expect. Thumb is on a ball joint, no point of articulation in the middle. So yeah, a bit neutral on that. I found that having an articulation point in the middle of the thumb has both its benefits and its issues. So yeah, I'm pretty neutral on that. On the torso then, of course, there is going to be a moving cockpit hatch. It is not going to be in that kind of very strike-like lower torso. It's actually going to be up here. So the back of this door can just, you grab that, slide it forward, and you can see the pilot figure of Tatsumi Hori right there. Of course, the console. Presumably the console uses to control the Eclipse Gundam is molded in there. Very nice. Hori himself, as is standard, the pilot figure is not painted, so you can paint that if you would want. I don't really display my kits with the cockpit hatch open, so I don't really paint them. Of course, for the torso articulation, oh yep, there goes one of the flaps. You can get a full 360 rotation. It is going to be a bit awkward with these very large side skirts in the way, but yeah, that is something you can do. You will get some very nice side to side tilt. For forward ab crunch, yeah, you can get a very, very far forward crunch. and a very, very far backwards crunch. So yeah, pretty nice articulation all around for the torso. On the back here, there is a bit of a flap that you can swing around as you please. I don't think you're supposed to in mobile suit mode because, again, it is concealing this, I don't know, is it an exhaust, a thruster? Not quite sure. That kind of like vent detail there. But yeah, you can manipulate that as you would like. Again, this tail fin on the back skirt can be moved. I don't think you're supposed to in mobile suit mode. On the waist then, the front skirts are going to be on separate ball joints, which will do ball joint things. You can get a little over a 90-degree raise. The side skirts have rotation as you would expect to keep these gigantic beam rifles out of the way. They can swing out as needed. And the back skirt is pretty much fixed in place. It can swing out and stuff, but that's mostly for the transformation. So yeah, I don't think you're supposed to unclip it from the hip. The legs then, for forward kicks, you can get a little more than 90 degrees. For side raises, the side skirt will get in the way quite a bit. So yeah, with the side skirt there, you can really only get 45 degrees. You kind of swing it out of the way. You can get just under 90 degrees. And for back kicks, you don't really get that far before the side skirt kind of pops out. If you kick the leg out to the side, you can get maybe 45 degrees, so you're quite limited in that respect. Of course, you are going to get a full double bend in the knee, but with how large this lower leg section is, it will be colliding with the thigh quite early into the bend, as opposed to a lot of other double bends. This ankle armor can swivel about, as you would expect. The side parts can kind of come out a little bit, although I'm not exactly sure if that's articulation or if it's just I guess a kind of build looseness part with the ankle armor. And the feet here, the true feet, not the kind of false large ankle armor feet here, do have some toe separation. So you can tilt that toe down extremely far. This is for the transformation, but you can tilt it down quite far, and you can tilt it up also quite far. The whole assembly itself can pivot quite far, and they can go side to side, about 45 degrees in either direction. So pretty much about what you would want. Again, this kit is definitely at home in the air. On the ground, I'm not really sure how much use you're going to get out of that articulation, because again, probably shouldn't pose this on the ground. It is stable while it's on both feet, but again, this kit is at its best while it's in the air, as you'll see in a little bit. So yeah, overall, articulation is quite nice. Definitely way less compromised than a lot of other transformable kits. Again, Bandai's definitely learned their lesson. Transformable kits do have a kind of a reputation for being extremely jank and poor articulators to facilitate the full transformation. Not so for this kit. This kit can articulate quite well. Oh yeah, forgot to mention, the joint does allow for a full 360-degree rotation of the arm, but again, all of this like stuff in the way on the shoulders and side skirts will prevent that. So yeah, you don't expect to whip the arm around, but you can, with some careful positioning, get it into any angle you would really want. So with all the articulation out of the way, let's see it in some poses. So getting the Master Grade Eclipse into a bit of a spin in this kneeling ground pose here. Like I said earlier, this thing is not going to be running and gunning. The surface area of the feet are very small. It is going to be impossible to balance this thing on one foot. But yeah, so this kneeling pose is to demonstrate a few things. One, while it can kneel pretty easily, like this thing can pull off a lot of poses pretty stably, and like definitely a lot more stably than I was expecting, especially again, given those very small feet. This kid is very stable. It's a pretty solid poser. However, one, it doesn't look very good on the ground. Again, all these exaggerated proportions and the kind of tallness and thinness of the limbs and stuff lend itself a lot better to being in motion in the air, so this ground pose isn't really conducive to this kit's strengths. Two, the beam rifles are being quite large, are also a bit heavy for the arms. The firing arm, the kit's left arm there, it was supposed to be like kind of straight up firing, which made it look better. Unfortunately, the weight of the rifle was too much for the shoulder to support that, so I did have to bend the elbow and tilt the hand a little bit so that it wasn't pulling directly down on the joint. And in the offhand there, I was trying to tuck the rifle kind of like to the kit's side. Unfortunately, with all of the angles and the crazy geometry of this kit, it's very hard to do that. So yeah, it's kind of difficult to get into a nice kneeling pose. While I like how this kit looks, it's a great poser, this is definitely not the pose for it. So getting the kit into the air then, on an Action Base 4 from a Super Robot Wars kit, doing kind of a retreating backwards while firing the both beam rifles forwards. Again, yeah, this kit looks really good in the air, in motion for sure. I'm not sure if I would pose it kind of a little bit scrunched up like this. I think the next pose is definitely going to be a bit better for it, but yeah, this is pretty cool. This kit is definitely at home in the air. Definitely I would recommend, if you're going to use it in mobile suit mode, save the Action Base 13 for something else. this kit takes up a ton of space, especially in the air. You definitely want an action base that's like a little bit lower compared to the action base 13 that comes with this kit, just so it can fit on your shelf like a bit better if you have cube shelves like I do. The master grade size shelves that I'm using, I think they're about 12 inches tall, so they can accommodate things in the air. Still a bit of a tight squeeze if this kit's on the action base 13 up there, so yeah. But yeah, the beam rifles being quite large are definitely very striking. They're very cool. They're the kind of main weapons on this kit for a reason. I'm not sure if I would use them over the beam sword I'm not sure if I'll use it over the beam saber that you'll see in a little bit. But yeah, these are definitely cool weapons. It's a very interesting option to pose a kit with, like 2 full-size gigantic rifles. This is a dynamic, cool pose, and I would definitely consider maybe a little bit more extreme version of this on the shelf. Again, rotating it in my somewhat small booth in a more extreme version of this pose wouldn't be that feasible. So showing off the beam effects now with the Eclipse about to do like a leaping downward slash with the beam sword and the beam shield out. Yeah, this is if I'm posing this kit in mobile suit mode, this is definitely how I'm doing it. I love these beam effects. They look very, very cool. They're very unique, very striking on the shelf. They look awesome. Again, while this is not quite a centerpiece kit in my opinion, this is definitely close. You could put it like a tier above or below, like the centerpiece of a shelf. But yeah, this is extremely dynamic. Again, this is showing off this kit's strengths the best. It's not kind of scrunched up like the last pose was, showing off the lankiness, the tallness of this kit, letting all those angles kind of play out with the very long proportions, just all of it on full display. It looks awesome. Enhanced by the decals, by the way. If you're getting this kit, I would definitely recommend getting the Simp Water Slide decals. They are great. But yeah, the beam sword, this kit had a bit of a weight problem with the beam rifles. That is not the case with the beam sword. Obviously, it's quite it's a lot lighter than having it docked inside of the scabbard to make the beam rifle. So yeah, that's not really a problem. Putting the beam effects onto the beam shield was a little bit annoying. That yellow piece that you need to kind of clip down the beam effects is a little hard to get out initially, but yeah, I think the effect is like more than worth it. This is definitely a really cool pose. So if I were to pose this kit on my shelf in mobile suit mode, I would definitely pose it either like this or in the box art pose that you'll see when I'm talking about the conclusion. But of course, this kit doesn't only come with a mobile suit mode, it comes with a mobile armor mode. So getting into mobile armor mode here, this is a, I guess, dive kick kind of mobile armor, like you saw with my Cybaster, like you saw in my review of the Cybaster Extra Finish version. This is essentially a glorified dive kick with a ton of like little adjustments made to hide the fact that this is a mobile suit. Like the bottom is basically the legs turned sideways, the lower legs extended down, the feet kind of tilted inwards and clipped together. The transformation was quite annoying to do. They've definitely learned their lesson with a lot of other transformable kits. There are plenty of locks and things like that to keep this kit from looking super awkward, especially in the bottom with the lower legs. Unfortunately, those locks don't work that well. As you'll see if you look closely at the bottom, the legs, there's a bit of a gap in between them. I could not get the locks to hold them flush together. It just wasn't happening. It just kept popping apart the smallest little thing. And the top part is kind of hard to make everything aligned without locking something out of place. Again, with all the articulation this kit has, it's a little awkward to pose the mobile armor, like have everything kind of aligned and symmetrical and facing the same way. Very annoying to do. If you have the patience to do it though, this is one of the most unique mobile armor modes we've seen. It looks awesome. Again, I think it looks close to something that would be in like a sci-fi racing game or movie or something. Like if you've ever played Redout, this looks like a vehicle that could be in that. It looks really cool. All of those exaggerated angles and stuff really lend itself well to appearing like a super high speed, very futuristic, out there sci-fi vehicle thing. So yeah, very cool option to pose this in. This Action Base 4 was struggling a bit to hold it up though, so if you have it in mobile armor mode, definitely use the Action Base 13 that comes in this kit. This doesn't take up that much vertical space in mobile armor mode, so yeah, it should fit fine on your shelf if you put on the Action Base 13. This is how I'm going to have it on the shelf initially, at least until I get like some striker packs or something to put on it in mobile suit mode. Then maybe I'll transform it and show it off like that. But yeah, this is definitely a really cool transformation, definitely how I'm posing it on my shelf, and something you could consider posing on your shelf. So in conclusion, the Master Grade Eclipse Gundam is kind of an example of Bandai learning a lot about how to make a transformable mobile suit Master Grade that doesn't completely suck in terms of articulation. Like you see, like my review of the Zeta Plus and the V2 Assault Buster, they do not articulate. The transformation was clearly the main focus, it came first. It seems like they've been learning in recent years with things like the Kyrios and now with the Eclipse. This kit does have its problems. The Freedom 2.0 waist is notoriously fragile. I personally haven't had problems problems with it, but again, I just built it for this video. I've not had it for a while. If it like happens to break or something when if I'm transforming it in the future, I will let you know. But as of right now, the waist is fine. There are some compromises to articulation because of the design, namely the very thick shoulders and lower legs. It makes it the lower knee bend not quite what it could be, and the kind of arm articulation need to be a little careful to not collide with anything. There's also a lot of small articulation, like that kind of tail fin on the back skirt kept moving every time I was trying to articulate it. Things like the shoulders would come unlocked and start to swivel into the mobile armor mode when I didn't mean it to. But again, these are very small grievances and nitpicks. This is a very cool kit that I think those like minor annoyances don't really detract from the value of it. Really, the most annoying part is when you transform it into mobile armor mode. There's like a number of things you have to do, especially with those legs. The locks on them to hold them together don't really work all that well. So it doesn't look the greatest, like close up. From far away, it looks fine, like of course. Definitely, if you're getting this kit and you like the design, you want it to look its best, make sure to consider getting those simp water slide decals that I have on my kit. They look great. They seem a lot more vibrant than other water slides from either Bandai or Delphi or G Rework or something, the non-hollow decals, of course. But yeah, it definitely helps it pop, because I would definitely recommend a gloss top coat on top of that. Again, the super exaggerated angular design looks great, being really flashy and shining with some gloss top coat. So yeah, it looks awesome. Accessory-wise, you have a pretty complete spread with plenty of flexibility if you get other kits, like the two beam rifles acting as scabbards, meaning you can always have them mounted and displayed at all times. The beam effects being extremely unique and looking very, very cool. That kind of chevron arrow-like beam shield is not something you really see all the time. Normally it's like a kind of elongated hexagon. So yeah, that definitely adds to the uniqueness of this kit. The beam saber itself, I think that might be one of my favorite kind of implementations of a beam saber effect that I've ever seen. It looks fantastic. I think the only one that I can say right now off the top of my head that I like a lot more is the Epion's like gigantic beam sword. It's very hard to beat that. But yeah, as far as like kind of one-handed, I guess slender beam sabers go, this is about as good as it gets. It poses extremely well. It's a lot more stable than you would think it would be, given it's a transforming suit with a lot of jank at its construction in the kind of lower legs and upper shoulders. It's a lot more involved than a typical build, but again, it doesn't really compromise on articulation while integrating a full transformation. The build is not really that awkward. I didn't really have any problems with it. Again, there's some parts that are more involved than a typical master grade, but that's not a bad thing. It's not like annoying to do. It's not difficult. Again, apart from that Free 2.0 waist, there's not much that can really break. This kit is extremely unique and aesthetic. It is fairly effective in most poses that you would want it to do. Again, the geometries of it might make some things a little difficult, but yeah, it's quite a competent poser. It's large, it's imposing, and it's fairly reasonably priced. It's about average for a modern master grade. So yeah, this kit is coming away with a definite recommendation from me, with a small caveat that if you're not a fan of this extremely stylized design, I don't think this kit's going to change your mind. It mostly holds true to the insane design that this was conceived as in the manga. And really, the only thing you really need to keep an eye out for is patience in transforming it. I was getting a bit frustrated with how kind of jank it is, but again, I think the end result is more than worth it just for how like purely like unique and I guess convincing it looks for a dive kick transformation. Again, compared to like the Cybasters dive kick, this is like leaps and bounds more convincing. So yeah, that was my review of the Master Grade Eclipse Gundam. I know some people don't really like this kit. I'm a really big fan of it, mostly because I'm not really put off by the design. If you don't like the design, I can see why you wouldn't like it. But I think as a kit, as a model kit, it pulls off most of what you would want a kit to do pretty successfully. But what do you think of this kit? Let me know in the comments below. If you like reviews like these, please consider subscribing to my channel. If you like this video, give it a like, and I'll see you next time with my review of the high-grade Methus. I'll see you then.